Well, here's another video on the Beamer here. It's not really on the Beamer itself. It's going to be more like Euro wing repair. This particular wing has got some cracks in it, and it's just from those 100-mile-an-hour blasts, and it's starting to crack up underneath in here, up underneath here. So let me see if I can get you a look-see. Here's a little bit more of a close-up, and you can see right in here she's starting to crack all around where she adjusts, and this on this side as well. So I'm getting these cracks up in here, and I'm just going to pull this off, and I'm going to build a plate. Oh, let me try it so you can see my hand. I'm going to build a plate that'll kind of disperse some of this out here, and I'm going to drill some holes on either end of this crack to keep the crack from getting any worse, and then we'll put the plates in here to disperse some of the shock. And hopefully that's going to fix my problem. I have the wing stripped down, took these brackets off and everything. Got the wing sitting on the bench, and I'm going to go ahead and take these brackets off. Now you're going to need some to make a stencil, to make these little plates that I'm going to make to support this, to fix these cracks. You're going to need some high-tech tools. One of them is an ink pen, or pencil, or any shop object. You could even use a pocket screwdriver if you wanted. I'm going to use a pen just because it's less evasive and I don't want to damage these threads. And then also you're going to need a highly technical piece of paper to make the template. So if you've got an ink pen and a piece of paper, you've got enough tools to get at least as far as the template. So we're going to go ahead and remove these pieces.
I'm staring through your window looking up at the stars, up at the stars. I'm caught inside a loop where I can get to your heart, get to your heart. Ooh, you're letting your fears take hold, let them take control, and it's making me crazy. If you could only look at me and know how I feel, know how.
To make the template, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take a pair of scissors, and I'm going to try to make this the shape that I want it. And what I'm going to try to do is get as much on here as I can. I'm going to have to cut this corner off because it's kind of going uphill right here. So I want to keep as much space, I want to put as much space as I can around it. So I'm going to probably cut all the corners off because they're going to be places that are going to want to rise up on me. And so I'm just going to take this. It's not rocket scientist, just kind of follow along. And this is just a template, so it doesn't have to be perfect. You know, whoops. There, so just going to general idea where we're going to put that. So anywhere in this general area is going to be fine. And we'll round these off a little bit too. So now we're going to feel around for the holes where they are. Okay. And there's one. So we're just going to go ahead and poke that hole. There we go. The reason I use the ink pen is because it's cone shaped and it can allow for me to go the full size of the hole. Okay, so let's feel for the other one. That's why I use paper instead of cardboard too, because that way I can feel where these bolt holes are. There's another one. And one more. And that's that one. Now theoretically, this one should be the same, but it's going to be theoretically, well, we're going to try it. I'm going to try this. In theory, I should be able to take this and flip it over, and my holes should line up. There's that one. And that one. Sure enough. If you flip it over, it makes it's the same. So you only need one template. I'm going to go ahead and round these corners. All right. All right. And there we go. There's our template. Okay. So that's easy peasy. Got that all finished. And the next thing is going to be transfer this onto some metal, and we also are going to have to do some work on this, and I'll explain that when we get ready to do that. But let's go ahead and transfer this onto metal. Transferring it to metal is going to take a little bit higher tech tool, so I've got a Sharpie, high tech stuff, right? Here's a quick tip: put the flat edge on your template on the flat edge of the sheet metal, and that'll save you from having to do some cutting. And just go ahead and do these corners. The corners are not even close to critical. So we can just, when we're cutting the metal, we'll just kind of wing them how we feel like winging them. The big thing is going to be not to let anything move when you do your holes. There we go. Not too horribly difficult, right? And we can do the same. If we get lucky, we'll be able to put these side by side, but we're not that lucky. So we're just going to come on, let's see, do we want to go, let's do it this way. You don't have the flat edge idea like I had, but this is not a straight edge over here. And we got this round piece cut out here from when we did the Corvette. I don't know if you watched that video, but I recommend you do. It's just good sheet metal working. So we kind of do the same thing. We just go ahead and trace this out. And we can here, we use this straight edge from this one on this, you know, so when we cut this edge, we're still cutting one edge for each. And we're just going to trace it around. Now this has got a little curve to it. This is actually a piece of a rear quarter for a Ford Fairlane. And so we're going to use that curve to our advantage, because when we push it down, that curve is going to flatten out, and that'll hopefully keep all the outer edges flat up against the spoiler. And there we go. That should give us 2 templates ready to go. Before I put my wing back on the out of the way so we can work on the sheet metal and make a lot of filings and mess, we want to stop these cracks. So even though we're going to put a template, we're going to put a little bit of a sheet metal bracket on here to try to keep these from cracking, because it's getting pretty bad over here. We're going to put a little glue and everything, but we want to stop these from cracking any further. So rather than just kind of leave them alone, I'm going to try to find the edge of the crack, and we're going to drill a hole. Now, I'm not going to drill a big hole. I'm just going to drill a small one just to stop that cracking. And pardon me. And the reason we do that is just to keep, if the crack starts to keep going, it'll just keep going because of the stress areas. But if you put a hole there, it kind of stops the crack from moving around. I don't really understand why, but it does. So we're going to just find the edge of these cracks. Drill a hole. I'm using a step drill because you don't want a drill to go through and accidentally poke through the bottom of your wing either. So I'm going to go ahead and put another one here. Alright, there's a lot of little stress fractures on this wing. So I also noticed she's actually cracking here. Now, because of its location, I'm probably not going to be able to put a bracket. What I am going to do is when we go ahead and put our support plate on here, I'm going to go ahead and fill this area with some of that putty that does the same thing. So by putting these 2 holes here, it's going to stop this stress fracture. And it's also going to give the putty that we're going to be putting here, the epoxy, it's going to give the epoxy something to grab onto. So it's going to reinforce this area anyway. So we want to do, what I may do is just do this, put a couple more. So that it'll give the putty something to hang on to. To cut out the metal, I'm going to use my favorite tool. This is what I call the suicide wheel, or always wear safety glasses when you use these. But I do prefer this tool over any of them. Another one of my favorite tools, a bench grinder. And we're going to go ahead and just clean up all these rough edges before we go ahead and test fit this. We got a lot of sharp edges which you're going to gouge on that wing. So we're going to go ahead and take all these rough edges off with the bench grinder. Going to go ahead and flatten some of the edges out because from grinding and cutting and everything we warped the sheet metal a little bit. So we're just going to test fitting these panels right now. This one actually has a perfect contour. It's fitting really flush against that, so I am just simply going to test these. I'm going to put my screws in here and see if they all line up. Two for two. She's a little tight on that one. If we have to, we'll open the holes up a little bit. Give me a little bit of play, but actually it's looking pretty darn good on this one. And there we go, that's the third one. And she's good. So okay, that's a good one. Let's see if we get just as lucky on this one. This one we're going to have to get a little jiggy with it. She's not as, she doesn't fit the contour as nicely as that other one did. But so far so good on the holes. There we go. You don't want to, especially on this wing, it's not $1 million wing by any means. You don't want to get too terribly aggressive with it because it'll make it worse. So we're just going to see if we can get these four to go in there without having to be too, and there we go. Well, we did good on that one, folks. The thing I want to do is I want to rough up these surfaces so that they're going to, they'll adhere to one another. You want to give the putty something to bite into, you know. So we want to go ahead and rough this up, but I don't want to rough up outside the edges because then I'm going to have to do a whole bunch of body work. So what I'm going to go do is I've got this lined up already, and I went and took those stupid screws out like an idiot. So let's go ahead and put the screws back in. We only need to do two, so we get them remotely in the right place. And then I'm going to, well, I think I better use blue because it's black. So we're just going to go ahead and mark where this is. Now on this one, we're going to come out here a little bit, so because of these holes here. So we're going to have to rough that up too. And we'll do the same on this one. Put a couple of these in here. There we go. And make a mark. Now we're just going to scuff them up. Pull these out of here. Take our 80 grit sandpaper. Stay within the lines. We've got so many of these little holes. That's going to really help. But I really don't want to hold it by those holes because because obviously those holes are in places that the plastic's already fatigued. So we want to make sure we get some grip outside those holes. to make sure this is good and clean. I like to put something where my hand can't come out of it, and that way I can't accidentally touch it with my hand. But we're just gonna this is an actual body cleaner, acrylic clean. You can just use mineral spirits or anything that flashes, but with this being plastic, I was a little bit worried that anything harsher might cause it to melt down. So I'm just going to go ahead and use this cleaner. And don't be worried about using too much cleaner. It'll dissipate pretty quick, so you don't really have to worry about that. And this isn't for painting right now, so you don't have to worry about using a tack cloth or anything. This is just basically to get it so it'll stick. And we're going to wipe the back side of these as well. We might go ahead and get something fresh here. And we just wipe the back. And then you don't want to touch anything once you've treated it. You want to make sure it doesn't get touched with your hands. You can use gloves if you want to. I usually am just real careful. Again, this is not painting, so it's not as critical, but we do want as much adhesion as possible. So that's pretty much that. You can use mineral spirits, you can use any other kind of solvent that flashes off pretty quick. But the idea is just you want it to melt fast. As you can see, this is still a little dark because it's cool out today. So it might take a minute or two for it to flash off, but we're going to go ahead and start mixing up putty. And I'll show you the kind of putty that we're going to use. This is the stuff I'm using. It's just flexible bumper repair. It comes like paste. I've got 2 tubes almost gone. They're probably just enough in these tubes to finish this project. You're going to put equal amounts of both on, and we're going to just do one at a time because even though it's cooler out today, things are going to dry slower. I prefer to, because I'm going to go ahead and put the brackets on and everything while this is curing. So we're going to just do one at a time, and that way we can take our time and we don't have to worry about things going awry on us. And man, that bugger's tight. Whew, she didn't want to come off. Alright. For whatever reason, the black seems to go faster than the white. Make sure we got no junk on there. So we're going to pour a pretty generous amount on here. We've got to be careful too, because we don't want this to... That's probably more than enough. If we get too much, we'll go ahead and put it on the other one and hope it doesn't dry before we get finished. I'm going to have to buy some more, I think. Man, this one's about out, I guess. There we go. Alright. I'm going to have to fight with that other one. Get yourself a squeegee. This one is not any good for body work really because she's broken, but it'll be fine for this particular project. So we're just gonna, the cool thing is we're just gonna mix her up right here on this piece right here because it's gonna be going on there anyway. Just make sure you got the right side. I marked them left and right, and so we're just gonna go ahead and mix this up. Well, this one didn't go as well as I wanted it to. It was up a little bit on these corners, so I went ahead and took some vice grips, and they got flat feet on them. So I went ahead and put these vice grips on here to kind of push her down flat until she dries up. There's a lot of debris flying around here. I noticed even after cleaning it, I'm seeing a whole lot of debris floating around here, so I'm just going to go ahead and have to do that one again, man. I'll tell you what. Alright. So, anyway, I probably should have put gloves on because I've been touching this surface a little bit, but we're going to hope for the best. Again, this is not anything anybody's going to see. It's on the bottom side. When I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and sand this area down that we went ahead and had to fix the holes. And I'm going to probably have to put a little bit more on that because she's sinking in. But I've got the holes clogged back up. She's done in there. So when that dries, we'll go ahead and put another coat on there, smooth it out. And then we'll do a little bit of sanding and get it all in there. But that one's on there and it's looking pretty good. Once we paint her up, it should be 100%. So I'm going to go ahead and start on this one. The putty that I got on there is still fairly pliable, and that's because it's kind of cool out today. And so I'm just going to go ahead and mix up another batch. I'm going to start with the black, and the reason that I'm doing that is because there's not a lot in here. And so I'm going to get as much as I can out of this thing. If I have to slice the tube open to get it, I'm gonna. But we're gonna go ahead and start with the black so that I can make sure I've got enough. Oh yeah. Yeah, that should be enough right there. So okay, we were able to squeeze enough out of there. Yeesh, wasn't easy though. And then we're gonna get the white over here. Do the same thingage. Ooh, the white comes out a lot easier. She's getting pretty low too. It's about time to order some more, I reckon. Well, this one's gonna fight me now too. There we go. All right. So that's pretty much it for now. We're going to let this dry, and then we're going to do some sanding. Going to use that same 80 grit sandpaper to kind of shape this little bit here.
my eyes.
This is a 3M pad, scuff pad, and I kind of just brought my last little bit of, since this is not really going to be seen, I just brought my little last bit of sanding with it just to keep it, get rid of the scratch marks. But I'm also going to go ahead and what I call scuffing. I'm going to scuff all of this area too, because I want to paint it as well. So we're just going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and take these brackets off, and that way I can get paint on all of this. Don't need to paint the backside because the backside is all sealed with that sealer that we put on there, so we don't have to worry about the backside. That's why we didn't paint it, and that sealer sticks better to bare metal. So I'm going to take the brackets off. I'm going to scuff these with the scuff pad, and then we're going to go ahead and I'm going to paint it up. A little bit of spray paint, and we'll let her dry. For some FYI, I'm actually going to leave these loose, like this, so that when I put them on the car, I can get these lined up. Once everything's lined up, I'll go ahead and loosen these, move them out of the way, and tighten these up one at a time so I know exactly where they got to go. Because unfortunately, once the bolt is through these, I can't access these bolts because this bolt gets in the way. So I have to leave these loose, get them lined up, and then we'll go from there. I've got these so that they'll move a little bit, but they're stiffish. And so I'm going to go ahead and set the wing in place. And I'm going to have to align it. So I'm going to set her in here. Wow. We got her pretty close on that one, so I'm just going to go ahead and snug them up right there on the wing itself. And those front ones, got the front ones snugged up pretty good. So we're going to stick them in there, and then we're going to see if we can't get the rear ones to line up just as nice. I'll be dipped. They all lined up perfectly without having to move anything. What are the odds of that? Well, here goes the balancing act. I'm going to have to put the bolt in here and hold the wing at the same time. And of course this one's going to be kind of a booger. There we go. So we'll get her in there just to hold her in place. another bolt. Whoa, got me on the wrong way. Do the same thing. I'm glad they fit tight, but it's making it a little bit difficult to get the screw through there. I just thought it would look better if I made sure that all the bolts went one direction here. So there's that one caught. Let's see if we can't get this one in here. One came through, and last but not least, we'll go ahead and try to get this one caught in there. There we go. Well, there you have it, folks. Now she's got good solid base, no more cracks, and now she's got something to keep the cracks from happening, because she's got a bigger base from which to spread out the trauma, if you will, or the impact. Because this thing shakes when you're going down the road, especially when you start hitting higher speeds. And then you get a lot of downforce, which is actually was breaking the plastic that this is made out of. Now you can buy a higher dollar one and get carbon fiber or something that's made a little better. But I didn't spend a lot of money on this wing, so I wasn't sure if I was going to like it. I ended up liking it, so I wanted to keep it. And this is one way to make her last quite a bit longer. So the same as for rubber bumpers or spoilers, fiberglass. Well, fiberglass, you want to use more fiberglass, but any kind of ABS plastic, any kind of urethane. Normally you would put the metal on the inside. If it was behind a bumper, you'd put your metal behind the bumper, and then that you would make your patch that way, but you would still patch it the same way that we did this. So there you go. Now you have it. If you need to fix something that's plastic or urethane, there you go. Oh, don't forget to subscribe.